All right, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to start styling the main navigation. And this right up here is the main navigation where I'm hovering. And if you wanted to take a look really quickly, let's go and open the header.php file, and I'll show you what's invoking that main navigation. Right here on the header.php file, if you look on, say, around, let's see where it is. Okay, around line 39, at least that's where it is on mine, you'll see something that says nav, and then it has ID equals site navigation, and then the class is main-navigation. And inside of that, there's a toggle button, and you'll see later that the toggle button actually only shows up on smaller screens, and that's through some JavaScript. And then what it's doing is it's calling here with this this PHP script right here. It's calling for the primary menu and the top cat primary menu. And down below, you'll see another PHP section of code, and then it's using WP underscore nav underscore menu function, and it's looking for the array, and the theme location that it's going to grab is the primary theme location. And the way that that's designated is in the back end. It's going to grab anything that you use a little checkbox that says that it's the primary menu. And let me show you really quickly, if we were to jump back into the back end right here, and if you go to where it says appearance and then you go to where it says menus and load that, you'll see that you have some different menu options. And right here it says select a menu to edit. You can choose any of your menus, but anyway, whatever menu you choose, down below, if you click where it says primary menu right here, then that is going to, and then save the menu, that's going to make it so that that's the menu that shows up. If you don't have any primary menu selected, the default is to go ahead and automatically just add pages as you create pages, and then the post would only show up on the blog page. That's the default. So if I don't have anything currently selected here in my theme to be the primary menu, and the way you could check is you could look at all your different, you could select this and take a look down below, that's not selected. You could look at all these different ones and see which one has a primary menu selected. And I've shown you this before in the last assignment, but I want to make sure that you understand. All right, and then we have testing menu, and all of this, all these menus, by the way, were added by our theme unit test data. Right now, none of them are selected as the primary menu, okay? But the minute I select one, it would take over whatever is currently up here, and whatever is currently up here right now happens to be just the default, where if primary menu is not selected, it automatically loads any new pages and the blog page. So that's the way that works. So let's jump back over here to Dreamweaver. And so that's how it's loading that menu. And I want you to just take a note about how the nav is loaded, also in terms of like the ID of site navigation and the class of main navigation, because that's going to help inform us how we need to style stuff. So I'm going to jump over here to my style.css page, and under the section 5.03 menus, I created it as 5.03. For menus, you'll be able to find the main navigation class. And if you want to find it just really fast, if you do a Control F on Windows or on a Mac, you do Command F, and what it does is it brings up this little find, and you would type in like .main and then dash navigation or something like that, and then you would search for it, and it would automatically start to pull your stuff up. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to go ahead and knock that down. So if I want to make changes to this, I can make it here. But before I do that, I want to start making some changes live in the browser, because I like to do that. I think that you're going to find that this is a really useful way of doing stuff. Here, I'll make this even a little bit bigger so that maybe you can see it better in the video. And right now, you see if I hover over these different things in the inspector, it will highlight them so that I can see, you know, what I'm working with. First thing I want to do is I want to select over in the HTML side here. I want to select where it says class is the main navigation, and it's going to show me everything that it's got set up here. So if I just leave these things alone, one of the things that I want to do is go ahead and give the background color the color that I had designated in my XD file, and I already have that sample pulled. So I'm going to type background, and then I will go ahead and paste that. And you can see that it goes ahead and it applies that color. Now the problem, right, the problem with this is that I have, you know, I can't see my links because the links are that bright blue color. And so, and I am deviating, by the way, I'm deviating from what is in the book a little bit in terms of my own styling. So, but the principles are all still the same. If you want to follow the book, that's fine. If you want to follow me, that's fine. Anyway, so that's the first thing. And one of the things you're also going to notice here, I want to show you something, is right now what I'm doing is I am changing, I'm just adding a style right now that's already to the main navigation class that is on a certain line 515 of style.css. The thing is if I save, if I keep doing it this way, then it's going to make it harder for me to see where my changes actually are. And so one of the things that I might also want to do instead of doing it like this is I'm going to, real quick, I'm going to jump over here. I'm going to click, what I did was I just clicked where it said style.css and it jumped to the line number. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this, this section that's got all my navigation. In fact, let's just do this. I'm going to copy and I'm going to scroll all the way down. I probably don't need all of this, but I'm just going to go ahead and take everything that all the way down before I get to the 6.0 accessibility section. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go back over here to elements, and I'm going to create something that is separate in my inspector style sheet that will override my existing styles. So I'm going to hit this plus symbol, and instead of pasting anything right here, I'm going to just click right here where it says inspector style sheet, and I'll click on that. And it takes me to my inspector style sheet, and here's where I'll just paste all of that stuff that I had. And the advantage of doing it this way is that, you know, I now have this separated out from my main style sheet, and I'll see everything that I actually changed. And one of the things that I can also do is, you know, I didn't actually change anything right here. So I could either comment that out or I could just hit delete, and then I'll know exactly everything that I actually added. All right, and so I'm going to just delete everything that's inside of these, and then that way, if I have to undo something, I'll know that it got overridden. All right, and it'll be helpful for you to see, you know, the things that are different. Okay, so let's just get rid of all these, and you don't have to do it this way, but you know, I'll just leave that display none there so that it's easy for me to identify what's going on. And then this is a media query. So I'm just going to leave the media queries kind of alone. All right, let's come up here because this is primarily where we're going to be working at the moment. So right now I've got, you know, this color is hard to see for my navigation. So if you remember back to sort of some basic CSS stuff, in order to change the color of actual links, you actually have to change to the A tag. I can't just like add something that says color, you know, is a light color right here under main navigation. I have to go down and find where it says main navigation A, right? So it's this A tag. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to make a color, and I'm just going to give it some color right now. Let's give it white for right now so that I can see it. I could either leave it that color, or now that I've actually put a color here, I can click on this to get my color picker, and I could say, you know, let's see what it looks like as this bright sort of light yellow color. And maybe that's something that I'm going to like. All right, and then I'll commit to that. And so I can at least now see what I'm doing. And so I can come here and, you know, for the main navigation, I can either tell this that I want it to be all uppercase, or I could also tell the whole main navigation section to be uppercase in case later I decided to put something else up there that I wanted to be in there that wasn't a link. I don't know why I would do that, but if I did, I could go ahead and I could either tell this to be uppercase. So that's going to be a text transform. All right, and it would be uppercase like that. All right, and then you see that it goes to uppercase. The other thing that I want to do is I need to tell it what font I want it to be. I don't want it to be the font that it currently is. I want it to be Oswald. So I can do font family like that. And if you don't remember what your font name is, then you're gonna have to look it up. But mine is gonna be Oswald Regular. I'm just gonna paste it so that you don't have to watch me type. All right, so it's Oswald Regular, and remember, you're not looking at the names that Google tells you to use. You're looking at the name that your font packaging process produced. Okay, and I want to give it a font weight, so let's do that. And I think I'm going to go to 400 so that it's explicitly telling it to be the thicker one. All right, and so I've got that started, and it's starting to look a little bit more the way I want it to. And now I also want to give it a top border up here. So let's do border top like that, and we'll say 3 pixels, and let's make it black, and we will make it solid as well. Okay, and then so we've got that at the top, and then we've got right now we've got the bottom is being generated not from the nav, it's being generated from the entire header. So I could make a decision whether or not I wanted those two things to be the same. And if I wanted this, for instance, copy this. Let's put this here and let's say border bottom. All right, it adds to it because remember we had a bottom border on the header. So, you know, maybe what I actually want is maybe I just want to keep it on the nav and maybe not on the entire header. It's really up to you how you want to do that, but that's something you would have to go back later and change. So I'm just gonna get rid of the border bottom for right now. And maybe I like it at 4 pixels so that it's a little bit more even, or maybe not. Let's see what it's like at 2 pixels. Let's just stick with 3 for right now. Okay. Okay, so now I need to get some padding and stuff on this. So let's go find where we've got our main navigation. We already set the color up. Let's do some padding first of all so we can get this separated. Let's do padding. And this is going to be between each anchor link, right? So, and the reason I'm doing padding and not margin is because whenever it gets a hover state, remember padding is going to add to the interior, so it'll take the background color, whereas margin is going to be on the outside. So like the hover state for a margin, it would have a gap in between and it'd be weird. So I want to give it padding. So let's say maybe 10 pixels or so for the top. That's all the way around. But let's say that we want to do the top and bottom a little bit differently. So let's say 10 pixels, maybe let's try, well, let's just start with 10 pixels, 10 pixels, and then we can go ahead and change individual ones because I think I want the top and bottom to be different. So I will leave, this is the right 10 pixels, and then the last position is the left. So I'm going to leave those the same. And then maybe for the top and bottom, I'll adjust those. So maybe the top I can do somewhere around 14. Or I could even lower this one, let's say to 9, maybe even less. Let's maybe say 7, something like that. And we could start to adjust this and see how it ends up looking. And I might be okay with the way that that looks. All right. Okay, and the other thing too is you'll notice that the text decoration's already turned off from the reset, so we don't have to worry about that. But maybe let's see what happens if I make the font size a little bit different. So I might like it the way it is, so we'll do font size. And let's do we'll do the fallback of 15 pixels. And I think I might like it a little bit smaller like this. And then of course we would do the one that we really want, which is font size of 1.5. And then let's see about rem, we can do it that way. Okay. And I'm using rems this time so that it doesn't cascade all the way down. I would have to change the HTML size for this font size to change. If I were to change it to M, you see that it's a lot bigger, right? So we're going to keep it at rem for this, or you could, if you want to do M, that's fine. Just remember that it will cascade based on the scaling for whatever the text size is that you set for this entire header or this entire banner area. Okay, so let's stick with that, and I think I'm okay with that. You could go and see what happens if we do just one size bigger, and that ends up being like the standard size. So if you like that better, you can stick with that. All right, and then the other thing too is that you'll notice that this starts really far off to the left over here, and so I'm not sure that I like that. I want to maybe have it line up with this logo. So for that, I actually want to probably style this UL. And if you're not sure, let's go back over here to Elements. And if you hover over the UL, um, you could try some different stuff. I don't want to do the entire site nav, right? I don't want that. I want just the menu to pop over, and you can see that that's where it's nav menu. So if I click back over here to sources, we can do padding. So let's do padding left. Let's try that. And let's do, all right, let's just, if we try it in pixels, the problem that we're going to have is that, remember this is scaling, the logo for the majority of the screen is actually scaling in a percentage, and so that could throw it off. So let's try doing something with a viewport width. So we could try like 5 VH, or not H, VW for the width. And that looks like it's a little bit too far over. So what happens if we do like 3? And that looks like it might do the trick. And if we scale it, you see that it will consistently, until we get to that stupid little primary thing, that primary menu, and I'll show you how to deal with that later. Until we get to that, it actually seems to be pretty good. And if I make it really, really big, you know, on for like a much larger screen, we can see if it still works. And I think that that's going to be okay. I think that's probably going to be all right. And then if I got to a really, really big screen to test, then I could always go and make an exception. So I think I'm happy with the way that that looks. All right, and so this is pretty basic, and it's a good start. The other thing that we could do is we could go ahead and also figure out, and in a minute we're going to deal with these drop downs, these pop-ups that are coming, but we can also figure out the hover state. And so one of the things that you'll come down here and you'll look for is list item, hover, and it's basically going to take care of the A tags that are inside. So we can adjust that. And yeah, and then later you're going to see that there are these, and I'll talk about these in just a minute. That's whenever we're dealing with the drop-down menus. But for right now, we can come in here and we can make an adjustment by adding a background color. So we'll go ahead and do background. And I've already pulled this up from my XD, and I put it in my clipboard, so I'm going to just go ahead and paste that. Oops. Let's get rid of that right there. And then you can see that it's a slightly lighter version of it. And then I could also make a decision here to come down and let's say that the color of that link is going to be white. So it also looks different in that respect. So it's a brighter color, see, and that might work. All right, so we could use something that's like this. Okay, so before I lose any of this stuff, it's going to be important. I want to do something. I want to do a select all, and this is, by the way, in my inspector style sheet that I've been working on. And if you notice, I've got the sources tab as the current one selected. And then to find your inspector style sheet, just so you know, over here, these are all the sources that this page is pulling from. Where it says topcat.matmcc.org, it would say your last name or something there. If you drill down into our CE folder, you'll see that that is in fact our inspector style sheet. So like if you get confused and it jumps to something different, like you can also find it here. Like if you grab that by accident, this is the actual style sheet that it's reading. If you click over here, that's the tab where you added all your new stuff. If I go over here, I can select all of that. I can copy that. And if you want, then just make a little page, a little text page with some notes. And so if I go over, like in mine, I'm on a Mac, so I can jump to text edit. If you're on Windows, you can go to Notepad or something. And I'm going to make mine plain text. I like to go up here to Format and say Make Plain Text. And I'm going to just paste all that stuff. All right, and these are all of the things that I just changed so far. And just, you know, so that I have it in another place in case this page gets refreshed by accident or something like that. All right, and then what I can do is I can see the changes that I've actually made. So I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm going to copy this stuff a little bit one by one. I'm going to copy that and go into Dreamweaver. And where I have it, I told you before, my main navigation stuff, it's on line 515. So I'm going to just come down right below these, and these are all the new things I added for main navigation. And so that's the reason I like to kind of do it that way sometimes. That way I don't have to remember what I changed about the existing style sheet, because I might have made changes, you know. Anyway, and so where I've got main navigation UL, I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to come back in here, and at the end of that, I'm going to paste that, and you see here it's got padding left is 0, so I can get rid of that previous line, and I just updated it and replaced it with my padding left is 3VH, or excuse me, VW, viewport width. And then the other things that I made changes to was, well, the other thing was the main navigation A selector. So let's copy these changes and we'll find it here. And we can come down to where it says main navigation A, and you see it already had text decoration none. All right, so let's paste that. And let's see, did we make any other changes so far? We did to the hover state. Okay, so I'm going to copy that. And that was main navigation list item hover, whose descendant is an A tag. So let's find that. And it's this first one on mine, it's line 569. So I'm going to paste those rules that those declarations that I created there. And I think that's maybe all that I did. The rest of this stuff I just left alone and it was fine. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to save my style sheet, what I have so far. I'll go ahead and I'll put it up on the server, and then I will test it. I can come back here, and because I've already copied everything out of here and then I pasted it here, I can feel reasonably confident that when I hit refresh, it will take all of my changes. And it did. And so this is now what my page looks like. And I still have to deal with all this nonsense, right? But here, at least, it's starting to look like something. And then, you know, you can see that it does something different when it gets to the mobile screen. We'll deal with all that later. But for now, you can go ahead and move on to the next video.